Marcus Cole had never thought he would stand on an alien world. He was a firefighter from Chicago, a man who saved lives in burning buildings, not someone who traveled between stars. But 3 months ago, everything changed when the Vorkith Empire came to Earth. The Vorkith were tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms. They came in massive ships that blocked the sun. Their leader, Supreme Commander Zethros, gave humanity a simple choice: surrender all resources and become slaves, or face complete destruction. Every government on Earth was ready to give up. The Vorkith had weapons that could turn cities to dust in seconds. But Marcus saw something the others missed. During the first attack on New York, he watched a Vorkith soldier run from a small fire. The soldier screamed and fell back, unable to move closer to the flames. Marcus understood then that these powerful aliens had a weakness. He shared this knowledge with a group of resistance fighters. They were ordinary people like him. Teachers, doctors, farmers, and workers. None of them were soldiers. But all of them refused to become slaves. They called themselves the Ember Guard, and they learned to fight with fire. For weeks, the Ember Guard attacked Vorkith patrols using flames and heat. They freed prisoners and destroyed supply lines. The alien soldiers could not understand how such weak creatures were winning. Their advanced weapons meant nothing when humans carried burning torches and threw fire. Supreme Commander Zethros grew angry. In 500 years of conquest, no species had ever resisted the Vorkith Empire. They had taken over 1,000 worlds. Beings with better technology, stronger bodies, and greater numbers had all fallen. Yet these small, soft humans kept fighting. Zethros sent a message across the planet. He demanded that the leader of the resistance face him in single combat. If the human won, the Vorkith would leave Earth forever. If the human lost, every member of the resistance would be killed slowly as a lesson to others. The other resistance leaders did not want Marcus to go. It was clearly a trap. Zethros was over 8 feet tall and had the strength of 10 men. He had killed warriors from across the galaxy with his bare hands. What chance did a human firefighter have? "He'd call us out," Marcus said to his friends. "If we hide now, the people of Earth will lose hope. They need to see that we are not afraid. They need to see that humans stand up to tyrants, no matter how big they are." His wife Sarah held his hand. She was also a member of the Ember Guard. She had fought beside him in a dozen battles. "Then I am coming with you," she said. "No," Marcus replied. "If something happens to me, you need to keep fighting. You need to lead our people." Sarah looked into his eyes for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Come back to me, Marcus Cole." The meeting place was a ruined stadium in what used to be Paris. The Vorkith had destroyed the city in the first wave of attacks. Now only broken buildings remained. Thousands of Vorkith soldiers surrounded the stadium, their weapons ready. They expected to watch their commander crush another inferior being. Marcus walked into the stadium alone. He wore his old firefighter jacket, now torn and dirty from months of fighting. In his hands, he carried nothing but a simple metal tube. The Vorkith soldiers laughed at him. Some of them did not even bother to watch. This would be over quickly. Zethros stood in the center of the field. He was the largest Vorkith Marcus had ever seen. His gray skin was covered with battle scars from centuries of war. His forearms ended in claws that could tear through metal. His eyes glowed red with power and hate. "So this is the famous human rebel," Zethros said. His voice was deep and cold. "You are smaller than I expected. On my world, we would use creatures like you as pets." Marcus did not reply. He studied his enemy carefully. He noticed how Zethros kept his distance. Even this mighty warrior was afraid of getting too close to a human carrying an unknown object. "Your resistance ends today," Zethros continued. "When I kill you, your people will understand that fighting the Vorkith is useless. We have conquered species that lived in stars. We have defeated beings made of pure energy. What can one weak human do against the might of our empire?" Marcus finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady. You have conquered many worlds, but you have never faced humans before. You do not understand us. Zethros laughed. I understand everything about your kind. You are weak. You have short lives. Your bodies break easily. You have no special powers. You can't even survive in space without machines. What is there to understand? You see our weakness, Marcus said, but you do not see our strength. We have lived our whole history fighting against things stronger than us. We fought lions and bears with nothing but sticks. We survived ice ages and plagues. We built cities in deserts and on mountains. Every time something tried to destroy us, we found a way to survive. Zethros grew tired of talking. He charged at Marcus with impossible speed. His four-clawed hands reached out to tear the human apart. But Marcus was ready. He twisted the metal tube in his hands, and a jet of burning flame shot out. The flamethrower was a simple device, something humans had used in wars for over 100 years. To the Vorkith, it was death itself. Zethros screamed as the fire touched his skin. He fell back, his arms waving wildly. The flame had barely touched him, but his whole body shook with pain and fear. Every Vorkith soldier watching felt the same terror. Their bodies were not made to handle heat. Even a small burn could disable them for hours. You see, Marcus said, walking forward slowly, you conquered 1,000 worlds because you had better weapons. But you never learned how to fight when you were the weak ones. You never had to. Zethros tried to stand. His pride was stronger than his fear. This proves nothing. One trick does not make your species worthy. Marcus stopped a few feet away from the alien commander. The flame in his hands danced in the evening light. We spent our whole history discovering our weaknesses and finding ways around them. We could not fly, so we built airplanes. We could not breathe underwater, so we built submarines. We could not survive in cold, so we discovered fire. He lowered the flamethrower slightly. Fire, the thing you fear most. We learned to control it hundreds of thousands of years ago. It kept us warm. It cooked our food. It lit our way through the darkness. And now it will set us free. Around the stadium, things began to happen. Explosions rang out as Ember Guard fighters attacked the Vorkith ships in orbit. Fires broke out at military bases across the planet. The Resistance had used this meeting as a distraction to launch their biggest attack yet. Zethros watched the sky fill with burning debris from his ships. For the first time in his long life, he felt true fear. Not just of the fire, but of these strange creatures who refused to know their place in the universe. What are you? He whispered. Marcus looked at him with eyes that held no hate, only determination. We are human. We are the species that learn to use our weaknesses as weapons. We are the people who never give up, no matter how dark things get. And we are going to teach the galaxy what happens when you try to take away our freedom. The battle lasted through the night. By morning, the Vorkith forces were in full retreat. Their ships that could still fly fled back into space, carrying stories of the burning world and the impossible humans who lived there. Zethros survived, but he was no longer the same. The burns on his skin would never fully heal. More importantly, the burns on his pride would mark him forever. He had been defeated by beings his empire considered nothing more than animals. As he escaped on one of the last ships, he sent a message to the Vorkith home world. It was a warning to stay away from the blue planet. The humans were not worth conquering, he claimed. The resources were poor, and the cost was too high. Better to leave them alone. But the truth was simpler. He was afraid. And deep in his heart, he knew that if the humans ever came to space in large numbers, the galaxy would never be the same. On Earth, Marcus stood with Sarah as the sun rose over the ruins of Paris. Around them, the Ember Guard celebrated their victory. People laughed and cried and hugged each other. It was the first time in months that anyone had allowed themselves to hope. What happens now? Sarah asked. Marcus thought for a moment. We rebuild. We get stronger. And we make sure that no one ever tries to take our freedom again. They will come back someday, Sarah said. The Vorkith or someone else. There are many empires out there. Maybe, Marcus agreed. But now they know what we are. They know that humans do not surrender. They know that we will fight until our last breath for what is right. And maybe some of them will think twice before attacking weaker species. Maybe some of them will remember what happened here and choose a different path. Word of Earth victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. Slave races heard whispers of the small blue planet that had defeated the mighty Vorkith. They learned about fire and bravery and the strange idea that all beings deserved freedom. Some of them began to believe that change was possible. On a dozen worlds, rebellions started. Oppressed peoples rose up against their masters, inspired by stories of human courage. They did not always win, but they fought, and in fighting, they proved that the old ways of the galaxy could not last forever. Years later, when Earth finally built ships that could travel between stars, they found a galaxy changed by their example. Some empires had fallen. Others had reformed, afraid of becoming the next target of interstellar justice. Free trading systems had formed, where beings of all species could meet as equals. Marcus Cole did not live to see all of this. He died an old man, surrounded by his children and grandchildren on a peaceful Earth, but his legacy lived on. The Ember Guard became a symbol of resistance throughout the galaxy. Their motto spread to 1,000 worlds in 100 languages. Where there is fire, there is hope. And in the darkest corners of space, where tyrants still ruled with iron claws, slaves would sometimes look up at the stars and whisper the name of the blue planet, Earth, the world that taught the galaxy that the smallest spark could become a flame that burned down empires. The story of humanity had only just begun. They came from a small world with weak bodies and short lives. They had no special powers and no great technology. But they had something that no empire could defeat. They had the courage to face the darkness and the wisdom to know that even the longest night must end. Zethro spent the rest of his days in shame. He never returned to his home world. He could not face the judgment of his people. Instead, he wandered the outer regions of space, a broken warrior haunted by memories of a firefighter who refused to bow. Sometimes, when he was alone in his ship, he would look at the burns on his arms. They reminded him of a lesson he had learned too late. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. Strength without mercy creates only enemies. And the universe has a way of bringing justice to those who think they are above it. The humans had shown him this truth, not through force, but through fire. The same fire that had built their civilization had burned away the pride of the Vorkith Empire. And in its place, something new was growing. A galaxy where beings stood together against injustice. Where the strong protected the weak instead of crushing them. Where hope was not just a dream, but a flame that could never be put out. This was the legacy of Earth. This was the gift of humanity to the stars. Not weapons or technology or conquest, but the simple belief that every being has value and every soul deserves freedom. The Vorkith had thought they were bringing order to the galaxy. Instead, humans had brought justice. And so the story ends not with a battle or a war, but with a sunrise. On Earth and on countless other worlds, beings looked up at the sky and saw possibility. They remembered the tale of Marcus Cole and the Ember Guard. They remembered that one small world had stood against the darkness and won. In the end, that was what it meant to be human. Not to be the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but to be brave, to be kind, to stand for what is right, even when everything seems hopeless. To light a fire in the darkness and never let it die. The galaxy had many stories of powerful empires and ancient races, but none of them were told as often as the story of Earth, the small blue world, the burning planet, the home of humanity. And wherever that story was told, Beings would nod and smile and feel something warm in their hearts, because they knew that as long as humans were out there, somewhere in the vast darkness of space, justice would never truly die. The flame had been rekindled, and it would burn forever.